Welcome to The Game Changer with Dr. Sharalyn, where purpose meets performance and leaders are built to shift legacies. I'm Dr. Sharalyn Payne, executive strategist, speaker, and the secret weapon behind leaders who drive transformation at the highest levels. Each episode delivers bold truths, power skills, and real-world strategies to help you lead with precision, show up with presence, and build the kind of influence that outlasts trends. This is the space where high-impact decisions are born, where influence is intentional, and where the bold don't just lead, they change the game. So if you're ready to rise, ready to lead, and ready to create the kind of impact that moves markets, missions, and minds, you're in the right place. According to Harvard Business Review, 61% of leaders admit they feel pressure to suppress emotions at work, even when navigating personal crises. What if the very wounds you're hiding are the sources of your wisdom? There is this belief, which is outdated, that strength equals being stoic. Common misconceptions that we hear all the time: if I show emotion, they won't respect me. Healing means I'm distracted or weak. Research from Brene Brown and Gallup shows us that vulnerability increases trust and engagement. The strongest leaders are those who can hold power and pain in the same hand. Begin identifying where you've armored up emotionally or relationally and what it's costing you in your culture. I want you to think about this. What does it look like to lead in the middle of your own process? You know, there have been times in my career when I've had to lead through grief, burnout, betrayal, and transformation, not of the organization, but of me personally. I'll share a little bit about that. I can recall going through a period where I was in a relationship and it was not working out. I knew that it was over. Yet I still had to get up and do the work. Didn't matter that I was having to navigate the court system. It did not matter that I was meeting with attorneys. It did not matter that the end of that relationship felt like death, that what I thought was forever and the vows that I took were essentially gone. I still had a job to do. I still had responsibilities to share. And I felt like the weight of the world was on my shoulders. And I remember coming to work and my leader at the time asking me one day when it was all over, what happened to you? And I was like, what are you talking about? And he said, what happened to you? Because today you look totally different than how you've been looking for a while. Now, I was still coming to work, still putting makeup on, still dressing up, still looking the part, still doing the work, but something obviously was missing with my energy and how I was showing up. Another time, leading through burnout, taking on so much responsibility that I was overworked. I had overworked myself. I was burnt out. I had taken on way too much responsibility. I was carrying in way too much of a load, shouldering way too much responsibility. I was just burnt out. My team of colleagues, they were not pulling through the way that I needed them to pull through. And so it required me to absorb more of the work. And I felt myself feeling like I was slowly going under. And I know that I'm not the only one who has experienced this, but you still have to go through your healing process. I remember getting some family news about something that was so exciting in our life. And I was excited. Oh, I was so happy. It was something I've been praying for such a long time. And then in the very same moment, getting the news that the very thing that I've been praying for that was happening was being ripped apart from me. That was devastating, devastating news. And I just remember being in my office and just wondering like where am I? Trying to process through it. And all through each one of those stories that I just shared with you, I still had to go through my personal transformation of having to work through the pain and heal from those experiences so that I could still show up and still contribute and not lead from a place of brokenness and bleed on my team or take out my pain, my betrayal, my hurt on my team or expect them to fill those vacancies inside of me that needed to be filled through something or someone else that they weren't even qualified for. So let's unpack three core mindsets of leaders who thrive through healing. One is radical self-awareness. It's naming your emotions without judgment and not judging someone else, not judging yourself. Just name the emotion. What is it that you're dealing with? What is it that you're experiencing? The second is intentional transparency. It's sharing enough with the people who are around you to connect, not collapse. So how do you share enough? Perhaps it needs to be with your team that, hey, right now I'm going through something in my personal life, and you don't have to share everything, but it's going to require me to be away a little bit more. Maybe it's sharing it with your leader. I remember having to share with my leader at some point that I was having some personal challenges with family and it was requiring me to be a caregiver. That's not something that I wanted to share, but it was required because I needed to be available for doctor's appointments with my loved ones, with my family. And that was most important to me at that time. So having the courage to be able to have those conversations and then boundary compassion, staying open without overextending. And so how do we do that, right? Sometimes we take on more responsibilities than we need to. So healing leaders create psychological safety because they model authenticity. So how do you create psychological safety on your teams? And you allow people to share, you allow people to be vulnerable. And you are authentic yourself. You're not walking around as if everything is perfect in your life and nothing is happening. And I've worked with those particular leaders. It's very challenging to be open and vulnerable and brave and courageous yourself. You create those moments of connection without falling apart. When you're with people who live in, I like to say, fairy tales and Disneyland and Disney World, and everything is perfect in their life. It's not our reality. So journal this sentence. What am I currently healing from that could help someone else? Maybe it's divorce. Maybe it's sickness. Maybe it's loss. Maybe it's grief. Maybe it's burnout. Maybe it's the betrayal of a friend or a loved one. Maybe it's personal organizational transformation. Maybe it's layoff. Whatever it is, but what is it that you're currently healing from that could help someone else? Let's talk about the ripple effect of vulnerable leadership. Healing leaders heal systems. When we're vulnerable, it drives performance. We're all looking for people to perform. We're looking for peak performers. How about showing up as your vulnerable self? Not that you're sharing everything, but you're not so guarded that people can't connect. So what is it that you're willing to share? And by opening up, you create space for innovation and performance and retention because you're connecting and you're becoming creative and you're sharing your stories. Teams led by self-aware leaders outperform their peers. Did you know that? So this isn't really a nice to have. It really is a must have. So I want us to use our humanity as our power, just the ability to be human, to open up, to connect with people, to share your experiences, maybe not necessarily your trauma, but just your experiences. What is it that you've been through? How do you see things? What are your perspectives? What have you overcome? What would you like to learn more about? What are you curious about? What is the thing that you wish you could do? What are you still recovering from or learning from? It makes you human. It makes you relatable. It provides the place for people to trust you, to feel safe with you. And that's what leads to high performance. When a leader pretends to be invincible, the team hides their truth too. Think about it like this. You have a problem. Your team has a problem, but they act like they don't have a problem because you act like you don't have any problems. So the problems never get solved. Or you never get to the root. You never create the conversation of possibility. It really starts with you being vulnerable. So let's talk about your game changer moment. That's turning your pain into your purpose. I want to share a moment with you where healing actually sharpened my leadership lens. So often we think our healing disqualifies us, but it doesn't. It qualifies us to lead with empathy, with wisdom, and with depth. You see, one of my greatest superpowers, I truly believe, is growing up in a home where my uncle was what we would call special needs. And living with him required us to see things from his lens. Would people treat him with kindness, with understanding, with patience? And when we lost him, it was devastating. And I realized with him, with Uncle Charles, so many leadership lessons. Why was I empathetic? Why did I have depth to me, as people would often say? It was because I grew up in a world where I had to be a voice for the voiceless, where I saw how people treated him, how they spoke to him. And it changed everything. My heart began to go out to people who were marginalized, or who we counted out. I began to look for and listen for other voices and bring them into the conversation. Those who we overlook, those who we talk over, those who we act as if they are not there because they don't have the title. Those who identify as being different. But you're able to take all of their voices and put it together and use that to fuel innovation. How our best ideas are formed. You see, the scar is proof that you survived, that you went through something. But also, when you look at it, it can be a reminder of the wisdom that you gained from that experience. And that's what makes you unstoppable. Because the scar and the pain doesn't have to be a reminder of what you lost. You can move through something and move from it and use that to make you a better leader, to make you a stronger, more impactful leader, so that you can be a legacy leader. One who changes the game, one who challenges the status quo, one who embraces strategic disruption, one who leads with empathy, one who inspires people to be, do, and give their very best. So I want you to identify one area of your leadership where you're avoiding vulnerability. Just one area. What's one area in your leadership where you're avoiding being vulnerable? For some people, it's you're not willing to have the courageous conversation that someone who you like and admire is not pulling their weight. For someone else, it could be you're not pulling your weight, or you don't know what it is that you should know. Perhaps it's that you are acting as if you have it all together. You're never sharing a time where you failed, or you're never saying, I apologize, I'm sorry for. You're not owning it. Maybe you are an imposter and a fraud and you know it. But that's okay. You have the choice to do something about it. So have one conversation this week that starts with honesty, not authority. And then take it a step further. Tag me with your leading while healing insight using hashtag the Game Changer Podcast. Healing leaders are not perfect. They are present. Vulnerability isn't emotional exposure. It's emotional intelligence in action. Because it takes courage to be vulnerable. Leadership isn't about who has the loudest voice. It's about being the person who has the most honest voice. If this episode resonated with you, share it with another leader who's carrying both vision and wounds, because we all do, even our favorite leaders. Subscribe to The Game Changer with Dr. Sharalyn Payne and download your toolkit, the Game Changer Leadership Collection, for your next step in leading with strength, strategy, and purpose. Change agents, decision makers who lead with intention and influence. This free, high impact resource pulls from my leadership arsenal and delivers immediate, actionable insights you can use right now to elevate your influence, lead with conviction, and drive lasting transformation. It's not just a toolkit, it's your first step toward leading at the level you were born for. Let me show you what's inside. The Leadership Edge Sampler. It's a preview of my 10 daily power skills to sharpen your influence and impact. The Influence Language Mini Guide. Essential phrases to increase your authority and build trust in every room you walk into. The Leadership Blind Spot Snapshot. Because the greatest risk are the ones we don't see. The power of one visual aid. A reminder that even one decision, one tone, or one conversation can shift a team or stall a movement. The Executive Briefing Checklist, a go-to tool for high-stakes communication that drives clarity and alignment. The 5-minute accountability brief, a no-fluff framework to build a culture of ownership fast. And we have the Game Changer Ascension Model Overview, my proprietary leadership growth map to help you scale your influence with intention. These are the very same tools I use with executives, culture shapers, and elite teams, leaders who know what's at stake and aren't here to play small. Because when you're called to shift systems, influence nations, and build legacies, you can't afford to lead on autopilot. This is where your next level begins. Download the Game Changer Leadership Collection today. It's free, it's strategic, and it's built for leaders who are born to shift the game. I'm Dr. Sharalyn Payne, and this is your Leadership Edge. Thank you for joining me on the Game Changer with Dr. Sharalyn, where we don't follow trends, we set them, and we don't just lead teams, we shift legacies. If today's message challenged, stretched, or inspired you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, tag it, lead through it. Because real leaders don't just consume wisdom, they multiply it. Want to go deeper? Subscribe to the Ultra Influential newsletter for exclusive tools, behind-the-scenes strategy, and weekly mindset shifts for the leader ready to move nations, markets, and minds. Visit www.smpistrategies.com or send a note to leadership@smpistrategies.com. And if you're ready for next level coaching or consulting that positions you as the right leader at the right time in the right place, let's talk. This is what we do, and we do it with precision, power, and purpose. Remember, change isn't just something you lead, it's something you become. Stay bold, stay brilliant, stay a game changer.